All right, we are right at 3:30. I know we'll still have a few people that join throughout our session today, but we want to be mindful of your time and knowing that you may have some new coworkers at home that are joining you that may need some additional support as well. So we're going to be mindful of time, make sure that we are working through just this collaborative time together, and then we'll end promptly at 4:30 today with some next steps. So thank you all for introducing yourselves in the chat box. If you are just joining, please just take one quick moment, introduce your name, your district, your grade levels, as well as just something you're doing to de-stress during this time. We understand that it is not typical, and that's why we're together today. So we want to welcome and thank you for joining the Project Success Open Office Hours. We are a resource center as part of the Indiana Resource Network, which is funded by the Indiana Department of Education. Our mission and vision as a resource center is to support students with significant disabilities, and most importantly, you, the teachers that are supporting those students. So our website is found at Project Success Indiana. There is a couple of things that I want to walk you through on there now. If you're familiar with our website, you'll notice some changes. So I just wanted to show you a couple of things that we have been diligent in adding during this time of uncertainty and a very swift change in our educational practices. During the school year, our Project Success team provides support to teachers across the state of Indiana, teachers of students with significant cognitive disabilities. We support leaders and paraprofessionals as well. And we do this with on-site professional development, virtual check-ins and training. We have webinars almost monthly, and we have 9 model sites across the state that we support more intensely. So with that being said, please continue to introduce yourself. I'm loving all the ideas that you're using to keep calm during this time, an important piece. So what I want to start with, and I'm going to just collapse the chat box for just a minute, that way it's out of the way. You're going to see on the Project Success website, Project Success Indiana, on the home page, we have added some e-learning resources. You will see today's Padlet. If you haven't yet opened this Padlet, please take a moment on Project Success Indiana's website to pull up the Padlet. You will see our webinar series throughout the school year. Our newest webinar was just released last week, which is instructional strategies for students with significant cognitive disabilities. You'll see our resource list. We'll explore that more in depth in just a moment. And then you'll also see our free online paraprofessional courses. Our paraprofessional courses have been extremely popular throughout the school year, but even more popular now as district leaders are trying to find ways to support parents during this time financially and be able to get them some training during a time of unknown. So I wanted to pull up this flyer for you. The link that is there on the website will also get you to the sign-up page. But you will see each one of our paraprofessional courses are here. Everything from an overview of special education to instruction and standards, down to assistive technology and accessible materials. This content is very appropriate for paraprofessionals. That is the audience it was written for. But also, if you're a new teacher or know a new teacher, this is important information for anyone in a classroom. So feel free to check those out, explore them. They're completely free to you if you're from Indiana, completely free for you to take, look at, and explore the resources that are within those courses. Please share them with your leaders as well, as I know many people are striving to find ways to support our peers at this time. Additionally, we have our resource page here on the top tab. This includes resources from lesson plan development all the way to modifications and accommodations support. You'll see webinars and language resources. All of these are archived here. Typically, this is where we want you to visit first, but the e-learning materials are on the front page of the website as well. And then today, and you've seen them in the chat box, we have the Project Success team. So you'll hear their voices today, or you'll see them within the chat box. I'm Meredith Keating-Merck. I'm joined today with Ashley Quick, Mary Baker-Budisa, and Heidi Black-Baker. We have served over 55 school districts this school year, ongoing professional development for students with significant cognitive disabilities, as well as 9 model sites. So please reach out to us as you're thinking, searching, and looking for materials or ideas during this time. That is why we started today. So the purpose for today, and I'm jumping over to that Padlet link. Again, you can find it on our homepage under the e-learning resources. On this Padlet, we have created and archived lots of information, and I'll take you through that, and my team will take you through that today. The purpose of today's Project Success Open Office Hours is to develop a community of teachers who are willing to share and offer support and strategies for students with significant cognitive disabilities during an unknown time. Many of you had 48 hours or less to flip your classroom to a digital format, a virtual format, or striving to find some form of continuous learning for your learners right now. The goal isn't to have all the answers, but we want to build a community. We want to share the resources that we have found to be helpful and that we have shared with our teachers that we have worked with and that we have found supportive. And we also want to share challenges and celebrations. So as we start to settle into this, I won't call it normal, but new circumstances, our goal is to figure out how to collaborate with you, share ideas, and just continue to be a resource center that supports your needs during an unknown time. So a couple of housekeeping things. You see the Padlet here. I'm going to walk you through left to right what we have in our Padlet. We'll explore these resources, and we'll have a question and answer session. So to make sure that we activate each participant in today's session, we have a couple of ways that you can respond, just to make sure we have your learning style and your level of comfortability. We want you to either respond in the chat box, which I'll pull back up here. We want you to utilize the chat box down here to ask and answer questions. We want you to use that as a space where you can share information and or resources. We also have on your participants list, you will have the ability to raise your hand. So there's a little link beside your mute button where you can raise your hand or unmute yourself. The only thing that we're asking as we discuss together and we're coming off of mute is that we don't talk over one another. So we suggest that you click that hand up button, the icon, so that we can be diligent, and Mary's going to monitor that and make sure that she helps facilitate everyone having their voice heard today. And Ashley is on the chat box, so she will share out what's being discussed on the chat box as we discuss further. But we want you to use one of those platforms to share with us today. The goal is just to make sure that we can share resources, we can capture ideas, and we can continue to meet your needs and develop resources that you need from today's session. So we'll continue to share in both of those formats, and you'll see Heidi and Ashley and Mary on that chat box as well. So within the Padlet, you're going to see several resources, and really this was our best way to organize them without overpopulating our website. So you're going to find today's guiding questions. We're going to open up the chat box in just a minute. We're going to explore what you are doing locally to support your learners, how you're communicating with parents, what support you need along the journey. And then we are going to continue to explore additional e-learning tips and resources. We have put many resources about facilitating case conferences during this unique time of doing those virtually and through phone or Zoom conferences. We also have shared many academic resources. So when you're scrolling, you have a scroll bar at the bottom that takes you through each one of the resources. And then underneath each column title, you have another scroll bar that you're able to review different types of resources that we have added here. If you have an excellent resource, we encourage you to share those. You can share them in the chat box, you can share them during discussion, or you can simply click this plus sign and you can add to the post. You can include a direct link, a video, just text, or copy the link directly into the column post. Additionally, we understand that many of you may have been in the process of earning your professional growth points, and maybe this has interrupted that opportunity as well. Many of you may be on emergency licenses, so we wanted to be mindful that there might be the need for the opportunity to get those points. So we have a webinar series here that I mentioned earlier, as well as some other opportunities there. And of course, today's professional growth points for the hour that we're spending together. So I want to start with just opening up some guiding questions. Ashley's going to put that first question into the chat box. You may also use the icon that says raise your hand to share out an idea around that. But the first question is, what resources are you using to support learners with significant cognitive disabilities? What are some of those resources that you are using? As you are thinking and pulling in some of those resources, I'm going to guide us over, and Mary will interrupt me. Oh, okay. Anna, we'll check on that too. If not, just go on ahead and unmute yourself. Anna, if you'd like to, if you could just unmute yourself, I'll be quiet and you can share.
I watched a YouTube video on making interactive Google Slides, and you can differentiate instruction on there. And the kids can't mess around with the background of it. So if you want to pull in a worksheet from a different curriculum or take a screenshot of something and input it in, you can. And then you can make PowerPoints and make them interactive. And then you can also screencastify over Google Slides. So if you want to present a lesson, you can use your video or you can use your voice over the Google Slides and talk about it. And I have some links. I don't know, I sent them to Meredith earlier. I don't know if you want to put that document in there. But that has been helpful. I've done a lesson with it. It took a while. The first one took a while, but I think now that I've got it won't take as long the next time.
Sure. And did you use voiceover or did you end up adding video? I know you said it could do both.
So you can use Screencastify over the top of Google Slides and talk on there. And there's a link on how to do that on that thing I sent you.
Absolutely. So Anna went ahead and sent me just an overview of how she structured this process. So I will add it in as an eLearning tip so that everyone can look at that. I got her permission to do that. It looks like Nicolette is also creating interactive slides for her students, setting up accounts on ABC Mouse. That's wonderful. Canvas modules. Christine's using Canvas modules to upload modified assignments. Perfect. Erica's using ULS and News to You, Google Classroom, Zoom sessions. Perfect. Teacher created slide presentation where there's the drag and drop and utilizing Seesaw. Yeah, and Seesaw. So Sarah Emmert had shared a couple weeks ago about Seesaw, so that's great. and I know many people have used that as well. You saw is fantastic. Perfect. Anyone else? Okay, here's one. Aaron shared that there are 6 students, several buddies, and 3 IAs. The Marco Polo app, we're all in a group. It has been great. Asking daily questions, telling jokes has been a fun way to stay connected. Utilizing Canvas and putting fun resources into the Canvas page. Such an important piece right now as our students are processing such a large change in schedule, as we all are processing a large change in schedule, to take that time to connect, take that time to tell jokes and have fun, and continue that flow that we had in the classroom to the best of our ability, to share personality during such a time. Very important. Let's go ahead and move to the next question. I'm going to slide over right here. Strategies. What strategies are you using to connect with students? I see some of you have already kind of jumped to that. Thank you. What recorded videos? Are you using phone conversations, choice boards, so that students have an opportunity to make a selection? What are some of those things that you're using to connect with students? And feel free, if you would like to unmute yourself, to share out through the audio as well.
Hi, Sarah Emmer here. This is something I've really been working on really hard this week, about how do I stay connected with my kiddos and their families. Screencastify is beyond amazing. It goes straight into your Google Drive. You create your own videos. I posted in the chat box. They have a code right now to have the premium for free. They said they would extend it if school closures is extended. So right now I think it goes to April 30th, but they said that they would extend it. So I did put that code in there, so whoever wants to share that code out. I've been creating choice boards, actually. I saw that Ashley posted that as an option. How do we let them still have control of their learning, and how do we allow parents to still have control of the learning and assist the way that they can? And I just created my own YouTube channel, which is really weird to me, but I've been like doing recorded videos of me reading books to them, interacting. I did a Zoom chat with Pattons, and they said make yourself present as much as you possibly can. So that is what I am trying to do. Doing Zoom calls. I have like office hours now is what I'm calling them, online office hours. I have a Facebook page that I communicate with the parents through, text, call. Just how do I make myself present? And the kids need to be able to see you. So you kind of have to get over that fear of recording yourself and just go for it. So that's kind of what I've been working on. I don't know if anyone has any other ideas. I'm trying to create choice boards. So if you have ideas so I don't have to make my own, that'd be great.
So yes, I've seen choice boards come across here a couple times. So there's a couple of resources on this page. One, I know this doesn't apply to you, Sarah, but for those of you teaching transition, Heidi added a link for transition choice boards. It focuses on employability, life skills, all of those post-secondary, really important skills that our students need to continue to work on. And doing so, how do we do that with a sense of choice? And I also added that as one of our resources that we'll chat about today. Love all those ideas, Sarah. Thank you for sharing. And you became a YouTube star before some of your students. So I've seen that meme go around. So I think that's kind of funny as we're thinking about connecting with our students. I'm going to read through a couple of these. I lost myself here, but I'm going to kind of scroll down and continue to unmute yourself if you'd like to share. Marco Polo idea, all kids can see the videos. Erica has recorded videos daily, posted them for their students, used social stories for student use, made sure that those phone calls are available in Zoom sessions, and of course those choice boards. And Nicolette has used Zoom and then morning messages. I love that through Zoom. So that's excellent. Social stories, choice boards, Google Meet, Lori has used Google Meet. Oh, that's great. 9 out of 15 students were able to show up looking for that connection during this time. And then Heidi supported and stated about those choice boards as well. Another great idea, Heidi said, having family members record books for students too. And we're going to figure out how connection with family is so important. And I loved, Sarah, you had mentioned providing that choice for our parents as well. It's important for our students to have that engagement and that ownership of their learning path, but also our parents need to be able to help guide that. And you know, as many of us parents or grandparents ourselves, that it's a different time, and we have our learners with us and our students that we're providing services to in our own families to care for during this time. Along with you, Aless, Catherine posted links from ABC, Room Recess, Storyline Online, one of my favorites, and teaching young students kindergarten through 2nd grade. Okay, so meeting suggestions on how else to include them and not put too much stress on the parents. I think that's an important piece to talk about today. You know, many parents are joining us from loss of jobs or needing some support that way. So being diligent. Khan Academy is wonderful as well. There's that. So let's move on, and I'll come back to this one. I saw someone just added something. Let's move on to question number 3, and then we'll kind of move into some strategies for colleagues as well. So how are you best sharing best practices with parents? And what are some of those strategies? I've heard providing choice. I've heard providing activities that are able to be implemented one-on-one or with some support. But what are some other ways that you're communicating with caretakers and supporting them at this time? Ina talked about sending parents a letter with visual support before we start. Such an important piece, making sure that our parents have those visual supports that we're learning in our classrooms and working on with our students one-to-one or in small groups in the classroom, making sure that they have those step-by-step choice boards that they might need. Anyone else want to jump on and share?
This is Erica.
Erica, go for it.
One of the things that I've done for my students is that for their assignments, they have a checklist. So the parents got a checklist also that resembled the students that gave the parents information about their expectations and ways they could help. As an overview for some of the activities that might be coming towards them, and with information about that it's okay that their kid might not be able to do everything that they think they should be doing, because they might not all do the entire activity the same way as each other at school also. So giving them that info about how it's okay if it's not what you feel is perfect is okay too, and giving them some examples. But I've had a lot of parents that have wanted to jump in on my Zoom classroom meetings as well, where okay, I know you're talking to the kids, but can we have one too? I've got some questions for you. So they've wanted to have that bit of time where they could just through some of the information as well. So just making sure that we were available to help ease the nerves and see that was helpful.
Absolutely. And be able to guide their questions in the moment, and be able to show a visual is really important for our learners and our parents alike. And I love that providing those visual supports, before this checklist, making sure that they have all of that information ahead of time. Lori was talking about phone calls home, making sure that parents are able to talk during Google Meet with students. So that's a great time to connect with students and parents alike. Here's a great question. I'm going to sit down here and just have everyone, and then I'll go back to Heidi's question there. Creating videos for parents, showing them how to do a topic, perfect. And sending them visual supports and creating what they need for their students. So just a great way to speak explicitly, visually for both our students and our parents, and making sure that parents have that step-to-step process for understanding the activity. We often talk when we work with our paraprofessionals, understanding the why. And what a great way through the videos to explain the why. Why are the students working on that task? But also the how. How do we get through that process, and what are some next steps that we need to do? What about parent open office hours? Erica, you kind of mentioned connecting with parents via your platform. Are you guys holding specific office hours? I know up above, I think Lori said that she was. What are you guys doing to support parents, like with office hours? Are there specific times that you connect with parents? Lori said that at the beginning of the course, she always provides that communication form with parents. Excellent. And many parents respond text messages. Excellent. They're able to connect that way. Sarah is providing online office hours for parents. Schedule a time for a Zoom call if needed, a Zoom or a call, making sure that they have that. Rachel is using a parent open office hour. Oh, it would be a great idea. Absolutely. And Sarah says that she uses videos to begin teaching my lessons so students and parents can follow along. That's awesome. All right. Erica says, I have set up hours, I'm available, but they are comfortable with contacting me if needed. Excellent. So just that open dialogue with parents is so important right now, and letting them know that we understand that they may need to chat and work through some of the questions there. Let's talk about strategies you are using to plan with your colleagues. Now more than ever, we are separated from those people that help provide subject matter expertise, like our gen ed teachers. We're disconnected from our instructional coaches. How are you connecting with colleagues at this time? How are you creating a community within your school community outside of the school? So feel free to unmute yourself and share how you're connecting with colleagues.
Hey, Meredith, this is Mary. I'm not sure, but I thought maybe Erica had raised her hand to speak to that last point.
Thank you. Erica, do you want to share real quick, even if it's about the last point?
I know Sarah, I'm going to talk for you too. Sarah and I have Zoomed, messaged like crazy women at any hour that we have been working on things, going, oh man, I really thought this was going to work, but I'm going to send it to you first. Try it out on can your kid try this out at your house and see what it looks like with somebody else instead of my kid trying it at my house, because I know what I want it to look like. And then just really collaborated with each other to try and see what else each other are doing. And while we're talking through Zoom, we'll be like, oh, by the way, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. And then it's like spurs, and before long, both of our husbands are walking up going, you two have been on here for 2 hours. Can you wrap it up? The kids are wanting you. I mean, like, I think it's been really valuable for us to be able to, just take time to share with each other and still connect, even though we aren't, seeing each other in the classroom.
Absolutely, and using your own kiddos as evidence of the instructional. So a couple of other, Christine jumped in here, so Zoom meetings, email, shared Canvas pages. So as you're collecting and creating, being able to share that Canvas page of that content. being able to text, of course, and material sharing with colleagues as well. Creating slides and lessons. I've connected with all gen ed teachers in the Google Classroom. Great. Hoping it's a good way to help out in there since it's a big part of my students' day as well. Such an important piece, being able to review what's being provided to our gen ed, by our gen ed colleagues to our student gen ed peers, and then making sure that we can look and see what we can modify and adjust to meet the needs of our learners while still showing that connection as well, and not having to reinvent the wheel, right? This is what we talk about often. Trying to reaching out to OTPT and SLP. Erica says she's overwhelmed with the Google Classroom alerts right now, high school and middle school classes. Yes, Erica splits her time between both. So, Samantha mentioned, I feel that we're collaborating more than ever across subjects, grades, and all services to each other through this process. I think that's a great point, Samantha, and I think now more than ever, over communication is essential. To Erica's point earlier, you felt like you've talked for hours and hours. It's so important to over communicate, to continue to connect. This social distancing, we can't let that hold us back from the opportunity to connect and also share. Share those strategies, share those resources. Oh, perfect. So Lori's, they're sharing student contact with the SPED social worker through a spreadsheet. Excellent. You know, making sure that everyone has a great connection and that students are receiving those services now more than ever. Our social workers need to be connected to our students because of the distance and the difference in that financial piece. Let's talk a little bit about those districts. We're going to go to the next question here. So many of you may be using some digital platforms and using some mixed media there. If digital platforms are unavailable in your district or not specifically needed for that student, how are you providing curriculum to students? Are you mailing packets? Is it a school pickup? I know that may have changed slightly with the changing of the state's plan. But how are you reaching students? How are you getting information to students who may need it in a different way? Or maybe you're connecting via Canvas and some of your other platforms.
I can say we do not have access to our buildings right now, like at all. We're not supposed to be in there. So right now, everything is going to have to be digital from what we do. Talking with parents on the phone, like it sounds like they have the ability to print things. So that might be something that we kind of rely on, but I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, it's different, and I feel like it's ever changing, right? We're checking the news, we're checking what we need and how we deliver that. Lori sent a packet home with 3 weeks of work for her students who do not have access to the internet. So with that question, and as we're thinking that through, how are you receiving that information back from students? I would be curious on kind of what some next steps are for those students, and I know we have several who aren't able to use a digital platform or don't have access to it. I started sending home. Oh, sorry, it changed real quick. I started sending home eLearning folder with packets to my kids, but then it changed, and I am having to switch to digital. So I'm learning new things from everyone to change my mind to digital. Perfect. This is a great group to work that through. Using some of our teachers' ideas there. I'm still working through this. I thought of sending home a list of activities and having students interested in these parents send me pictures of videos via cell phone for completion. Not sure. I'm excited to see what people say. Yeah. So what are some ways, as you're thinking about completion of tasks, how are you getting that information back, or are you getting creative? Phone calls with with parents, phone calls with students? Is this how we're, are you collecting that at the end? What are you thinking? Erica said she grabbed and sent what she could home, and now using the.
I don't know if anybody uses their iPhone, and I'm telling my parents to do this too, on notes, there's a camera and you can scan any document, and then you can send it as a PDF. So that was kind of a cool trick that I learned that I didn't know was there. So it's just in notes on your iPhone, and when you take a picture of the document, it'll scan it, and then you can email that.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. That's great. Great information. All right. So Catherine says, or Cassie, sorry, we don't offer e-learning in our corporation, so it's all new to us. We had to learn using Canvas quickly. Fortunately, I can bind a binder with individual ahead of time using unique learning systems, unique learning curriculum, and materials. So Erica has her students turn in information by noon on Monday, either via email, text, Google Classroom, or Seesaw. And Sarah says, I feel like packets are very impersonal, especially with this long time off. So I'm struggling with a few students who don't like technology for school. Yeah, absolutely. And while being flexible as well. Our school is giving the students 3 days after we return to get work turned in. With there will be lots of grading to be done for the students doing strictly worksheet assignments. Absolutely. And knowing out of those which one of those tasks that you had a student complete, which one would be most important to collect the data on, and how does it align to their IEP goals, etc. So being mindful also on what, just like we coach in the classroom, what is it that we're going after? Is it which IEP goal is this skill or this activity aligned to? And those are the pieces that we're going to look to collect our data and our information on as well. So I think that's important to keep in mind. Oh, so Rachel, if you go to notes on your phone, so this goes back to how she uses notes on her iPhone. So if you go to notes on your iPhone, you can click on the camera icon at the bottom and scan any document. It makes it to a PDF and it can be emailed. Excellent. We will capture that. And Rachel, if you have a second, if you could add that note into the Padlet underneath the strategies or the resources, I think that would be really helpful. Let's continue moving through some of our questions here today. We're going to jump. Let's start here. How are you holding IEP meetings? What platform are you using? I've heard Zoom a lot today. I've heard phone calls a lot today. If you're holding IEP meetings, which I know many of you may have had to change those provisions, what are and how are your processes going? How are you doing it? So I see Zoom, I see phone calls. This kind of resonated with several of what we've talked about today. Any other ways that you're connecting? I love that Zoom has opened up and provided a free option for us during this time. Using Adobe to send papers to be digitally signed. Perfect. We just had our first, Cassie just had our first IEP meeting via phone. Good, and it went well. Excellent. Google Hangouts. Okay, Emily's using Google Hangouts. I like that. Anna's going to be using Google Hangouts, and we will learn it soon. Absolutely. We're learning quickly here. I did want to, as we're continue to answer that if you have something, but as you're thinking about supporting IEP meetings, underneath the e-learning tips, there is a conducting IEP meetings during COVID-19 document. This comes from Public Consulting Group, and it walks you through just some great tips for how to facilitate that information, how to continue to remind yourself to make sure some basic things that could easily be missed through the process. So I wanted to just have you look at that on your own time. If there are questions, please reach out to our team and how to support that. And then let's get to the fun stuff. I think we spent a lot of time here. Oh, there's one more, and I want to make sure I get Christos here. What do you do if a student parent never does e-learning with her or does not complete her work? I'm afraid that the iPad will just be used for game and not for school. So this is not a unique situation, I'm sure, to you. What are some things that you're doing in your own classroom, in your own digital classroom to help support this? How are you overcoming this? Sarah says ditto.
Okay, so Sarah Emmer here again. I have a student with this same issue. Mom normally is constantly texting me when we have a normal school day, but I have not heard from her in over a week, which I find kind of interesting and concerning. I had to threaten her with counting her student absent before she told me, oh yeah, we did some of the work. But that's, again, the only time I've heard from her. So I would love thoughts and ideas on this. I did send home a paper packet for 3 weeks. I sent home some online or hands-on activities that he could play that I hurry up and laminated and made all in one day. And I sent home any of like my one-on-one work that I had printed out already for this student at my Work with Teacher station, and I threw that in, and we got all the material to her, but I really don't think she's doing any of it with the student. And she's not doing any of my online activities, and she's not even responding to like my class Facebook page. So I have no idea other than to go knock on her door and go sit in her house.
Right. This is the challenge, right? During this time of not being able to walk our students through the process or take over when those things aren't happening, where we used to do that as teachers in person. I'm reading Cassie's statement there. Logging into Canvas for our parents, e-learning is all new to them. Excellent idea. Having wonderful tech trainers to help understand that. Yeah, I think Cassie has a great idea there, and what your district has done is wonderful, is being able to make sure that, as with our students, that it is not a misunderstanding of how to use the technology or information, or what those expectations are. And it's continually checking in and continually teaching. And at times we're going to have to get really creative with how we're connecting to parents and making sure that we have multiple options. So I think using a choice board, if it's an issue with engagement, I think also making sure that we're teaching them via our videos, or making sure that we set up time to walk them through that. Heidi said maybe having a parent mentor, ask another parent to share if it's how it's helping their child. Connection right now is very important. So if there's a way to utilize maybe your Facebook group, or sorry, Mary, making sure that you can utilize your Facebook group, or make sure that you are using your video option to kind of teach and make sure that first it's not a misunderstanding of how to do it. And maybe starting with 1, 2, or 3 things that really need to get done. We send home packets and things. What are the few most important things that need to get accomplished for the student?
Meredith?
And, yeah, go for it.
This is Ashley. I just wanted to share what my own children's district is doing as far as e-learning and holding parents accountable for completing the assignments. They use Google Classroom as their platform, and I'm not sure how they've set it up exactly, but there's a button that says, there's a list of tasks, and then once those tasks are completed, there's a button that essentially you submit and say, yes, I've completed these, and then the district counts that as attendance for that day of e-learning. So I don't know if that's an idea that could somehow be modified or adapted, or even just an expectation of, I need a cell phone picture of XYZ activity to count for attendance for that day, or something like that. Just wanted to share that thought.
Yeah, Yeah, that's a great thought. And it goes along with what Sarah had just mentioned, you know, leveraging that attendance, especially when we're looking at service minutes too. So important. I'm going to go back to just the chat box here just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Christine encouraged kids to share with each other. They do it all the time at school. They share Google Docs and text, etc. Yeah, excellent point. Peer motivation is always important. And I don't know if you could leverage a peer tutor during this time, or if there was a way to do that in a virtual option. I know in our classrooms, our peer tutor sometimes can teach something till I'm blue in the face, and a peer tutor comes in and they're able to connect with their peer in a way that helps teach that information. So I don't know if that's an idea to leverage as well. Let's continue to brainstorm that. And I thank you, Ashley, for sharing out what's happening locally in your own kids' district. So Samantha asked about the Padlet. It is on the Project Success website under eLearning. So I'm going to jump over there so she can see this. And then we'll go back to the Padlet and make sure we walk through it. And we have a couple more questions. So Ashley added it to the box there. You can also find it at Project Success. And I should mention right now, as we're looking at that, we're going to keep this on here, the Padlet, going for long term. So don't be afraid that it's going to go away. I know sometimes you engage in a Padlet and then it is deleted. We're going to keep this here for you. I encourage you to continue to add resources. We're going to have a way to continue to connect after today's session. Yes, the Padlet will remain on the website. So we'll make sure that everyone has access to that. So last but not least, and then let's go into our
Meredith, can I just say one more thing? Under academic resources, there are several transition assessments you can do virtually and online as we continue to have those IEP meetings. Many people have not had their transition assessments done. So I just want to encourage you to use some of those resources that we learned about in the transition webinar this morning. And if you didn't have a chance to do that, it's listed on here through EdTech, the transition resources and some assessments are on there that they are encouraging you to utilize during this time of doing e-learning and using platforms for IEP during this time.
Thank you. Christine asked, what is a Padlet? So a Padlet Padlet is a way that you can organize materials in columns, or you can set it up as boxes across the page. It allows you to create headers. It allows you to implement pictures, videos, direct links to all types of resources or ideas that you may have. So this here is the Padlet for today. It's kind of like a digital post-it note board where you can have your post-it notes that you've included information on, but you're able to interact with it in a digital way. So I want to walk you through this. We're getting close to time, and I want to make sure that we end with our reflection today. So what you will see at the top are the titles here. Heidi had mentioned the transition assessments. You're going to have e-learning tips and resources here. As you click on these become live links and take you there. So if you're looking for the e-learning guidance for students with disabilities from the Indiana Resource Network and the Indiana Department of Ed, you would select this link here and it would take you directly there. Looking for information on IEP meetings, you have that information. Patents put out resources for students using AAC while e-learning. Lots of great communication boards, lots of great information about core vocabulary, visual schedules, all of it's here. So I did want to make sure that that was there as an e-learning resource, that you can refer to that as well. And we've included lots of digital tools for you to continue to look through. And then academic resources. You shared many of them, and thank you for doing that. We have our shared curriculum list, and I'm going to click on this just to take you through it. We have the goal to expand this. and to make it more meaningful for you, especially during this time. So for the past almost 3 years, we have collected curriculums that teachers are using with students with cognitive disabilities, significant cognitive disabilities. This was a crowdsourced list that many of our teachers were using materials, and we included the subjects and the grade levels and the cost and some basic notes about it. There's over 173 resources on this, which we understand is almost too many to navigate through. So what we would like to do is find a platform and a way that we can continue to connect during this time, to look through the resources that are the most helpful at this time, whether it is you're utilizing Zoom and we want to make sure that there's a link in a way that you're using it to connect to students with significant disabilities, or a specific resource that is most helpful for your students. And we want to add considerations for students with significant disabilities. So at the end of today, there will be a reflection forum, and if you're interested in joining this group of teachers to help develop these resources and help continue to collaborate, we would love to hear from you and connect you together so that we can do this and continue to expand. But these are 173 resources that Indiana teachers have deemed the most important.
Hi, Meredith, this is, oh, sorry.
No, you're good.
This is Mary. I was just going to say, you know, my kids are navigating through this too. And one thing that the principal has done is had a meeting, a Zoom meeting for parents every afternoon at a certain time, so that they can get on and talk about, you know, what their challenges are and maybe even frustrations, or just express what they like about what's happening with their students' classwork online. And so I think that it's important for teachers to remember that parents want to be connected to each other during this time. And I think students like to be connected. One teacher had a class period that was a Zoom meeting, and he played Fortnite during the meeting, but just let the students talk. He said, you guys just hang out like you would in class, to have time to connect. And so maybe some of your students are missing some of your other students, and finding creative ways for them to connect during this time is good too.
Yeah, excellent point. I think connection is more important than ever. And being able to engage in what feels like, even though virtual, feels like class and feels like your day to day. I think that's so important. I pulled up one additional piece, and this has come up several times, and I'll share this last one, and then we'll make sure that we capture your reflection and figure out how we can continue to connect and support you. These are 4 resources and or learning strategies that really stood out to our team. We each selected one. We each selected some ideas that we liked, and we added just some basic information. Many of these have come up today just naturally in ways to support learners with significant cognitive disability. So being able to film yourself, you know, short, keep it simple, keep it around the why, keep it around that standard or the objective or the skill. A great way to implement core vocabulary and use visuals and to connect with families. Utilizing the live video chat come up many times today. I put some additional ideas there as well. And then some considerations for students with significant cognitive disabilities, core vocabulary, closed captioning. Make sure that your closed captioning is accurate too if you're recording it. You know, make sure that it doesn't, it isn't clear and confusing to your students. And share your screen so you can model one skill at a time. And then the digital choice board. I included a link here of various digital choice boards. I'll show you where you can find that transition board because I thought it was great. It gives students the opportunity to make choices in a time where things feel uncontrolled. So they might be able to, and I've seen it set up differently, they can work vertically across like a tic-tac-toe board. They can work diagonally, or they can cover all if it's something that someone that wants to choose what comes first, next, and last. So there's examples here. There's a template here. So if you're interested in setting something up, This is an example for doing that. You can focus on familiar tasks for that student, put high engagement activities, etc. And then to the question earlier, I think Padlet's an important piece if it's appropriate for your students and making sure that you know your students' learning style. But things that I like about Padlet that could be helpful for students with cognitive disabilities. You can post visual pictures. I saw in the chat box making sure you have parent permission, of course. That's a really important statement, thank you. But also you can include pictures from UTU or ULS. You can put and add YouTube videos, your own YouTube videos if you're now a YouTube star, and increase engagement that way. And make sure that you include information for parents. So it's a great way to also make it a choice board as well. So all of that is underneath the resource page. And you'll see lots of information here to help you. And so I want you to take some time to review that. The other thing is the science of happiness. Self-care is so important right now. This was brought up in Dr. McCormick's speech today as she addressed school districts across the state. It's free. You can earn professional growth points, and it's just a great way to take care of yourself and take care of your mental health during this time, as both an educator and a community member alike. So last but not least, and we're getting close to time, on the Padlet you're going to see professional growth point certificate opportunity. And this is a reflection. What you'll see within the reflection are some basic questions that are really helpful for us. So, and this is how you earn your certificate today and your hour. But what we're going to do is include basic demographic information, and then it goes down into a takeaway from today. What additional support or resources do you need? We want to be able to pull together specifically resources and or supports that you need, make those for you, work in collaboration with you to support you. So if there are things that you need, where are the gaps at? Let us help you in this process, or topics that we need to provide professional development on. And how can we connect? Was today helpful? Would it be helpful to do this weekly? Would it be helpful to do this a couple of times a month? And when is it helpful? So we're all balancing many things. More helpful in the morning, afternoon, or even evening. And then if we were to create a group to join together to help develop resources and determine considerations for students with significant cognitive disabilities, would you be willing to join us and join a smaller group to help develop supports for our teachers? So we will send this out in a follow-up email, but it's also here on the Padlet. If you fill that out for us, it's very helpful for us to stay connected and give us honest feedback. So what is helpful for you? So if you would take a couple of minutes, I'm going to just go back to the chat box here in just a minute and glance over. If I missed anything, please let me know. We thank you for your time today. Please continue to explore this Padlet. There's so much information on here that we developed to hopefully help support you. I will add Anna's example of how she is going to set up her day today, and we appreciate your time. We appreciate what you're doing for students right now, and during a time that is challenging, both personally and professionally. So we thank you for that, and please stay in contact on how we can support you, what resources you need, what strategies you might need along the way. So please fill out that reflection. We take those serious, and thank you all for your hour. And we will follow up with the professional growth certificate and create a work group to continue moving forward. Thank you so much. We'll stay on here just a few more minutes and keep the chat box going. If anybody has any last minute questions, we'll stay on for a couple more minutes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, we'll keep the chat box open for about 1 more minute, and then we will archive the chat box, and we have recorded today, so we'll send those out as well. Thank you all for joining.